Hello everyone, this is George from Crypto Potato, and today we have a special interview with Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Scott used to be a world-renowned DJ, and now he's a professional cryptocurrency trader, one of the most influential people on crypto Twitter. Today we talk about the overall market situation, what's going on with Bitcoin, is it a bear market, what's going on with altcoins, and many more exciting things. So stay tuned and let's kick it off. So first of all, thanks for agreeing to be here. It's been a long time since I wanted to interview in the video, not just written interviews.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I love Crypto Potato. So obviously I've spoken to you quite a few times about different articles. So it's great to have this opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right into it and talk a little bit about what's going on right now, like with the overall market situation, starting with Bitcoin. We were down quite a bit in the past month or so, like over 50%, a little bit about, let's say about 50% or something. Do you think we can still call this a dip, or is it time to call it like a trend reversal or something?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a trend reversal, and what you call it is largely about context and time frame, right? So if you're looking at a monthly chart or the history of Bitcoin, it looks like a small correction and a little dip. If you're looking at the chart for the last 3 to 6 months, maybe you say we've entered a short bear market here, that bull run is over and we can start a new bull run in a matter of days, right? So it's all about context again and time frame. I would say that it's a little minimizing to just call it a dip and pretend that this is a normal, healthy correction. That was a significant turn in market structure, I think, in perception of the asset, in institutional interest. I think that a lot of things have changed and minimized. And this time, what's happening in China is a little more significant than the normal China ban, China unban. I mean, miners are moving out, right?
Yeah.
Which I view as very bullish for Bitcoin, by the way, but in the short term has obviously spooked the market to some degree. So I have zero concern about Bitcoin moving forward, but I also have zero expectation necessarily that we'll be revisiting all-time highs in a matter of weeks or months.
Right. Why do you say what's going on in China right now? Why do you think it's bullish?
Oh, I think it's bullish because we've had this energy narrative and centralized mining in China narrative for years, which have been problematic. And it's almost like they're doing us a favor right when the infrastructure for mining is set up everywhere else to have clean, renewable mining. And you know, Americans are chomping at the bit to mine in Texas, and Canadians in Manitoba and Kazakhstan and all these places that we hear about. Right when they're really ready, China shuts everything down and sends the miners out. And listen, we've heard about bans before, but this time the 5th largest miner in the world has shipped all of their equipment to Kazakhstan. 3 metric tons of mining equipment has been sent to the United States, to Maryland. So, you know, and I don't believe that those miners come back to China, because even if China says mining is fine, how much confidence do you have to literally move your entire infrastructure again back? And so I think that long term, this decentralizes the Bitcoin. This decentralizes the Bitcoin network. It spreads miners out around the world and moves largely towards more renewables and governments that take that more seriously. So I think very long term, it's very, very bullish. But I think short term, it's a very real issue.
Yeah. During Bitcoin 2021 in Miami, we had the chance to talk about ESG standards with Kevin O'Leary and with Frank Holmes, and both of them are of the opinion that complying with the current ESG standards is one of the most important things that Bitcoin has to go through in order to get approval for a Bitcoin ETF, for example. So maybe you know, moving away from coal to a renewable energy source is something that will benefit us greatly in the long run, I guess.
That's true, but it's interesting is that I think it's a bit of, and I didn't know this either, it's a bit of a misconception that necessarily Chinese miners are using coal. Some are, but the Sichuan province, where we're seeing an absolute mass exodus out and a crackdown, is largely on an overabundance of hydroelectric activity, and they have way too much electricity, and it's all being, you know, all those miners were using effectively wasted electricity. So there was very minimal effect on the carbon footprint of the world and very minimal effect on the Chinese power grid of those miners in Sichuan. So clearly there's something else much deeper going on there than just the public facing energy debate that they like to use as the excuse.
Do you think that Elon Musk propelled all of this discussion about renewable energy when it comes to mining Bitcoin?
I mean, I think maybe he reinvigorated a dialogue that we've been talking about probably for decades, but I certainly don't think the power of a single tweet or Tesla, removing the power to buy cars with Bitcoin when nobody was buying a car with Bitcoin anyways, was the catalyst necessarily for this bear market. But I think it's an important debate, and as much as people hate him for it, long term, it's probably a net positive for Bitcoin and for the world to be discussing it. So I do think that he sort of reinvigorated, as I said, that debate. But I don't think China's ban on Bitcoin has anything to do with Elon Musk tweeting that there's an energy problem, right? That would have happened anyway, and that's the much bigger story. So yeah, and to the point of Kevin O'Leary, and listen, these guys are a bit transitory in the Bitcoin space. Kevin O'Leary was a Bitcoin hater. Now he loves it. Now he thinks it has to be green, and he'll only buy green Bitcoin. I think for him, it's a bit of a soundbite talking about Bitcoin, because I think the entire energy debate is a bit misdirected, right? I mean, primarily we are using renewables for Bitcoin mining. Primarily it's moving to those places. And so it's like talking about something just because the price is down. It's recycled fear, uncertainty, and doubt of the same narratives that we see every time Bitcoin drops. And so he, just like these politicians, are sort of just grappling onto the energy debate, whether based in fact or not.
Right. So basically, we didn't really see something change so much in terms of fundamentals, because like we had the China FUD, which is a little bit stronger and different right now. We had Elon Musk bashing Bitcoin for whatever reason. But apart from that, what else do you think changed in the past couple of months following the correction, the crash? Say.
Well, I'm as guilty of it as others, being irrationally exuberant and not recognizing that emotional exuberance in myself. Maybe myself not as much as others, but when you start hearing about super cycles and $1 million Bitcoin, and the fact that Bitcoin can never have a correction again because there's an institutional floor and it's different this time.
That's what it felt like, though.
It did, of course, to everyone. And I guess in retrospect, that means you're about to see a 50 or 60% drop in the asset, because that's how whales make their money and rinse out the speculators and reestablish a strong floor so that price can continue up. So I think all on-chain metrics have shown that nothing fundamentally changed for holders, and whales and big wallets. They either held or bought, when price dropped near 30,000. It's everyone who bought at 50 and panicked and is selling now that are the ones that are problematic and are causing the drop. So I don't think that this is really a big deal, but I think that it's just the cycle of markets. You get rinsed when there's an overabundance of exuberance and people are becoming irrational about an asset. That's not unique to crypto or to Bitcoin. It just happens a lot faster and more dramatically here, because we see our cycles happen in a day that can happen in 10 years in another market.
Right, exactly. So in retrospect, what would you say was like the most blatantly obvious top signal that we had?
Laser eyes.
Laser eyes, okay.
Maybe, but things like that. Not laser eyes specifically, but the idea, as I said, being established that price could not go down, right? The only up mentality, I think, because honestly, technically, the chart didn't look as toppy as you would expect. There was no necessarily blow off top or this huge volume moment where you saw, a candle structure. I mean, it was rounding off and there was a lot of bearish divergence and there were signals. It's just when you're bullish, you tend to, ignore the ones that counter your bias. Of course, that's what traders do. And really, it did feel like it was about to culminate in all of this good news coming together. And it just kind of didn't. And so maybe the fact that Elon Musk tweeted, I don't give him the credit for it, but maybe, that caused a dialogue that put a hesitancy on that institutional adoption that we talked about. And all of a sudden, those people that were about to buy billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin maybe decide to hold off and see what happened.
Right.
You know, the floor is kind of removed, and then you see this just nonstop assault of quote unquote bad news.
Right. Because we can also see a very big difference in the futures market right now. Because
backwardation.
a couple of months back, whenever Bitcoin moved a couple of $1,000s up or down, it doesn't matter. This almost always caused a huge amount of liquidations. So I guess that we can also say that the market was, I think it's pretty safe to say, that the market was over leveraged to a large extent.
Leverage is the biggest problem in this market. It's also an opportunity, right? It's a problem only in that it can be taken advantage of. That's part of the free market. So you can argue that it's not a problem. It sucks when you're one of the 800,000 people who get liquidated in a single day. But at the end of the day, those people could have been on the other side of that trade and they'd be screaming about how amazing it is. They just were on the wrong side of the trade. I've always argued that Bitcoin is a free market. It's the only one we have left. And then people say, no, it's manipulated by whales. That's the definition of a free market.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not free because somebody has more money than you. I mean, it's truly a free market. So your job is to be on the side of the big money. Somebody with a lot of money can move the market. And there's for every sell or buy that they execute, there's somebody on the other side who's willing to take that trade. Yeah. Right. So to me, that's a free market. You just don't like it when you lose money. But yeah, I mean, leverage exacerbates and amplifies everything that happens in this market to a degree that you don't see elsewhere. Because you can push price $1,000 in a direction, as you mentioned, and then you trigger this liquidation cascade. And some of these exchanges don't have the most efficient liquidation engine, so they'll liquidate people before the people are expecting. And you see this sort of crash. In March of 2020, if BitMEX hadn't conveniently gone into maintenance mode, we would have seen literally Bitcoin go to zero on their exchange because of how aggressive their liquidation engine was and because there was just no bids left on the books.
Right.
So, it's an inefficiency of infrastructure. It's overexuberance and leverage being used by retail. And someone with a lot of money and experience can make a lot more money triggering that.
Right. I think we saw a lot of that with all those meme coins, right? When you have 1,000 different coins all named after a dog or whatever it is, I think that's a pretty clear signal that something is about to go wrong.
I wasn't calling it a top for Bitcoin, but I definitely thought the altcoin in that cycle was very toppy when we saw Doge and Saturday Night. I mean, it was not hard to do. It's nothing to be proud of, but Elon Musk going on Saturday Night Live and people thinking that Doge was going to go up because he might mention it on a TV show, to me was the ultimate top signal for that coin. And that was in the end the top. And I made videos about it and talked about it. And then we all know as passionate crypto enthusiasts that Doge is a joke. Right. Retail, maybe new people don't understand that, but we've been trading Doge for 10 years, me for 6. Because it's a joke and it's fun and it's a way to gamble and it has a predictable cycle and it's easy money. When you start hearing about how it's like the future of finance, I think you can tell that there's probably a problem. And then when they start making knockoffs of memes with new memes, and then you have this, as I've described it, memeception, where you don't even know which meme you're in anymore, there's probably a problem. I mean, Shiba Inu was a pretty good top signal.
Right. That's the thing. Like during those days, everyone who found out that I was in crypto started asking me mostly about Dogecoin, about Shiba, and
Safemoon.
Exactly, Safemoon. The funny thing is, I was writing an article about Safemoon, and I wanted to discuss some of the things that we can learn from what's happening with Safemoon and how people should steer clear of investments like this. And I came to realize that the entire content on their website was shorter than the article I wrote. So that's a purely.
We all know it had no substance. Nobody really knew the market cap or the supply, and they sent 50% to random wallet of Vitalik Buterin's, expecting that was in somehow a meaningful. But yeah, I mean, everything they did was wrong, and the entire pitch was, it's Doge, but you can own more. That's not a financial instrument you want to be investing in.
Right. So, what would your advice be for people who got burned from things like investing? Because there is no such thing as investing in Dogecoin, right? I mean, it's just
Nope.
gambling pretty much. So,
I think so.
yeah. So, what would you advise people who got burned doing this? Apart from don't do it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, don't do it again. Learn from your mistakes. And don't believe that Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and these memes are representative of the crypto movement or of crypto as a whole, and they have nothing to do with Bitcoin. That's the biggest problem for me, is that you see these retail and they come in and they never even look at what they're buying, and they buy some complete joke. They lose their money and then they say crypto is a scam. Bitcoin is a scam, and it's
Right.
completely unrelated and has nothing to do with it. So I would say slow down, back up, take a look at Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, start there again, small as an investor for years. Don't expect to get rich overnight. But at the end of the day, you can't convince most people who buy a speculative asset with a gambling mentality to change that just because they lost. They're just going to blame
Right.
someone, and they'll just blame Elon Musk.
Right.
And crypto's bad and they'll never come back, most of them. And that's just
Right.
the reality, I think.
So, what about altcoins right now? What do you think about the altcoin market?
Cheap, long term. I'm personally as exposed to crypto as I need to be, so I have not been buying. And my dip buys were a month ago when Bitcoin went to 30,000. Right, I
Okay.
had those bids set for a while. I publicly talked about it. I said I hope they don't fill. I don't think they'll fill, but I'm ready in case it drops. And they all filled that one day,
Right.
basically. In the middle of May, and I've been doing nothing since, personally. Not because I think it's a bad idea. If you are passionate about an altcoin very long term and you want to start dollar cost averaging in or investing, I don't think this is a bad time. I just think there's an impossible market to trade right now. Um, as a trader, I just think knowing when not to do anything is one of the hardest skills, but also one of the
Right.
most important. Um, so I haven't seen many great trades in the altcoin space, but the notion that altcoins are going to zero or they're dead is the same stupid narrative we've heard in the past. Certainly not the case, and we will have other moments. I just don't expect a tremendous alt season for the moment, because rationally, and I've been saying this for weeks, rationally, there's no great situation here for altcoins, because after a drop, if Bitcoin drops further, we see what happens to altcoins. They get destroyed. If
Right.
Bitcoin rips up and breaks out, that generally means people FOMO out of altcoins and into Bitcoin. So that's bad
Yeah.
for altcoins. And even as we've been ranging between 30 and 40, it hasn't been great for altcoins, because there's an expectation, since we're ranging at the bottom of the move and not at the top of the move, that there could be another breakdown. So there's a lot of fear. So just to me, I'm not saying altcoins are bad or that they will do bad. I'm just saying the higher percentage chance, the most options are generally bad for altcoins, what I see. So it just seems like avoidable right now.
Right. Right. Okay. In April, I think I was watching one of your interviews, and you said that you think Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin, and it did to a certain extent. It did for a considerable amount of time. What do you think now? Do you put Ethereum in the same bag as the other altcoins, or
No, I think it's a unique asset.
okay?
It's a good barometer of what's likely to happen with altcoins when it moves, but I don't put it in the same basket necessarily. Listen, if you take it back to January of this year, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin by 4 times in the bull
Right.
run, going back to
Right.
January, right? Made a move from 700 all the way up to 45, while Bitcoin did 30 to 65 or whatever it was this year. And we basically just tested the yearly open on Bitcoin, and from the top back down, Bitcoin dropped 54% and Ethereum dropped 58%.
Right.
I like an asset that can do 4 times as much to the upside and has the same downside. Right.
Right.
And so I've been pretty vocal saying that I think Bitcoin is the most important asset of our generation. It's a store of value. Everybody should own some. If you're a trader and you're looking for more upside, it's riskier, but I think that Ethereum is the much better trade moving forward, just because I think it's where DeFi is being built. An entirely new banking system is being built. There's a lot of innovation. There's deflationary aspects being added through EIP 1559, if that's the
Right.
number. A lot of things going for Ethereum. And I think that that's where most things are being built. And I don't see why people have to compare Bitcoin and Ethereum. To me, it's like saying, I bought gold, I hate Amazon stock.
Right.
Like one
Completely
is,
different
a
things,
platform, and one is a store of value asset or a form of money, whatever your argument is for Bitcoin. And I think that there's a place for both in people's portfolios.
Right. So you said that you're currently perhaps sitting on the sidelines as a trader, not as an investor. What is it that you're looking for right now in the market to start getting involved?
Well, like I said, I bought the dips. So that's
Right.
what I was looking to do in the first place. And it happened. And now I've waited a month and we're in the same range. So I've just, there's no more capital that I'm necessarily looking to deploy in that regard. I mean, for me, I think Bitcoin needs to break out of this range to the upside and get back above like the 42,000 area, which was the top of the run from 20,000 before that month of consolidation that required Tesla buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin to exit
Right.
to the upside. So we've basically reset everything, all of the benefit of that Tesla buy and that move, and we're back sort of in the same position in my mind. So that's really the area. You got to get above 41, 42, 43, above a lot of this resistance that we see on the chart. And then I think Bitcoin rips up, and once it consolidates, alts become very exciting again.
Right.
You want Bitcoin sideways in an uptrend to aggressively trade altcoins. You don't necessarily want Bitcoin sideways, as we've seen in a downtrend to trade. So I think I just want to see a little more convincing strength. As we're recording this, it's June 23rd. So the big drop and bounce yesterday that obviously is the talk of the market was a very encouraging sign, but it's just a start. Right. I think that there's just more barriers that need to be cleared before I'm very excited about trading this market again. Nothing has changed about my investment strategy. I dollar cost average into Bitcoin and Ethereum on the side regardless. And like I said, I bought those dips. So now I'm just hoping those were the dips.
Yeah, right. And
listen, if we drop down into the low 20s, I have bids again.
Of course. Yeah.
21 to 25. If we go back to test the 20,000 previous all-time high or something, I will go mortgage my children or find more ways to buy. So.
Okay. Yeah. Do you see this happening though? Do you see Bitcoin breaking out to the upside maybe soonish?
I think you can't tell. I think we're just ranging. I think that was a beautiful test of the bottom, right? So technically when you looked at it, it was a hammer candle on volume that swept the previous 3 swing lows, I think, and closed above, even on the 4-hour. It was one 4-hour candle that dropped all the way down to 28.5 and came back to, around 32. That was closing above all those swing highs. So to me, rationally, that looks like a liquidity grab. Whales push price down there. That's the day everybody was so depressed. Like the last 3 days, you really saw it. I started to feel it, which I rarely do. 2 days ago, I wrote about it in the newsletter. I made a video. I said, listen, I'm not depressed, but this is the first time that I'm like, man, this sucks. What is going on here? Like, am I wrong? Have I just been wrong being too bullish and all these feelings? And I said, and I've said this before, and it's always the bottom for some reason. I said, if my emotions are any indication, we're very close, because that happens every time. And the next day it dropped. So if I was feeling that, I have to assume a lot of people are. And when you saw that 30 break, that triggers shorts, stop losses, liquidations, all of these things. And that is just endless, beautiful liquidity for a whale who wants to fill their bags, right? A stop loss on your long, sell order. A short, a sell order. A liquidation of those longs that were liquidated there, sell orders. So that's all the selling liquidity that someone who wants to fill heavy bags can do. And we saw the volume to match. So technically, from a chart perspective, it looks like a bottom. I just can't say it's the bottom necessarily. I would be, and then if you're bearish, the chart is art. It's not science. If you're bearish, you look at that candle and you say, they just cleared the runway. Right? All those orders are gone now. Somebody can sell down as easily as they want with no friction now. And they could be right as well. So my bias is that we just bottomed for quite a while, but that my expectation is that we will range now for a while. And I don't think we rip up above 42,000, but I would love to see it. I just don't expect it.
Well, on one hand, we have people buying expensive cars and everything for being a top signal. But on the other hand, we
I
have
talked about that. Yeah.
and on the other hand, we have people putting on their McDonald's hat. So maybe this is some sort of a, bottom signal. I don't know.
It is. Listen, charts only work, markets only work because there's humans behind all of
Right.
those orders. So when you look at a
Right.
chart, you're just a visualization of human psychology. And what I've been saying recently is what you're looking at a chart and you draw a line is an area that human beings en masse are likely to make really bad decisions collectively and
Right.
at the same time. And you want to make the good decision based on the bad decision you assume they're going to make. And I think that that's become more clear. My entire Twitter feed was Rolexes, Audemars, Richard Mille, however you pronounce it. I don't even know because I'm not a watch guy, for a while there. And I was saying, listen, at the time was saying these are top signals. And immediately when it dropped to like 50 something, I said, all of a sudden there's no cars and watches in my feed. And you're absolutely right. Now we're seeing major signs of a bottom, but I don't think we've seen signs that people have given up. And often on a real correction, when you like the bottom of Bitcoin in the 3,000s from 20,000, sadly, it seemed like people were suicidal, giving up, had lost everything. Now it still seems like they're making a joke about it, but there might be some hope. So maybe that means it has to flush lower. It doesn't mean it has to do anything, but maybe it means it could go lower. But the mood has been pretty bad for the last month. Right. I mean, everyone's attacking everyone and very salty and lots of blame, and Elon Musk is the enemy, and just very negative vibes.
Right. But as you said in the beginning, if we zoom out a little bit, it's hard to be very bearish about something that's like 10x in a little bit more than a year, let's say, or something. Because we were at $3,000 last March. I mean,
yeah.
Yet
again, something I just tweeted. Spectator Index tweeted yesterday, right before the drop. Actually, it was said, Bitcoin price a week ago, 40,000. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, whatever it was, 40,000. Bitcoin price today, 32,000. And I tweeted Bitcoin price March 2020, 3,800. Bitcoin price today, 32,000. Right? I mean, you're up eight times. Zoom out.
I think that
it sucks to go down 55%. But if you're buying Bitcoin as an investment for 10 years from now, this should be noise and should not affect you. It does. Everyone. I don't care what anyone says. It sucks to see your net worth dump, especially if you're overexposed. But you should rationally understand that you didn't trade it based on what the price would be today. You traded on what the price would be in 10 years, and nothing's changed for that premise.
Right. Well, I think that sums it up about the crypto market. Now, I want to ask you something personally.
Sure.
You're a former DJ. If you had to pick one artist that you worked with, who was like the most fun to work with from all the famous names you were on stage with?
Well, in the studio, Diddy, I did some stuff with, and he really liked to party. So we were like there working like endless hours and in the studio during that period. He would go out and come to the club and he would come back. But the guy had the most infectious, positive energy of any human being that I've probably ever met in my life. He would come in and just like partying hard and jamming to everything you did was the greatest thing that was happening. He's dancing on the table at 4:00 in the morning. And so I think that people with that sort of infectious, amazing, positive outlook on things, and just I think he really is so egotistical and confident that he believes nothing he does could ever be bad or wrong. And so obviously being around that or part of it, even though it was only for a few days in my case, was very, very interesting.
Right. And one more thing, because my colleague, he's the biggest fan of Eminem. Have you ever worked with Eminem or? No.
I have not, but I love him. No, I have not. I love him. I've never even met him, actually, I don't think. But I'm a huge fan as well. I mean, I think he's definitely one of the top 10 rappers of all time, certainly. If you have to do the like white rapper thing, he's the greatest white rapper of all time. I don't see why that's an important differentiation, but they talk about it all the time.
Right. What's your take on the mumble rap? Like, because I come from a generation. Okay, yeah, that sums it up.
It's trash. Like, listen, I'm a generally positive person. I like to look for the good in things. So I think that I enjoy a lot of the production. You know, as a producer before, I think I could dance to a lot of the beats, or they're hard and they sound good in the car and they kind of make you nod your head. So I think that the production is very good. I actually get sad what's happened to rap, but then I sound like my dad, who will say it's sad what happened to rock, or his dad who says it's sad what happened to doo-wop, you know, and then
Yeah.
you start to be that screaming boomer who's like, you kids,
Right.
turn down your loud music, get off my lawn, you know. And so I'm cognizant of the fact that maybe I'm just missing it, but I'm in my 40s. I listen to 90s rap and I love it, and it's still the same. But I think every generation gets stuck in the music that they loved in their teens and 20s
That's
and
true.
never really
That's true.
evolved. So maybe I'm missing something, but no, I don't think that there's much talent in the
It's like,
in the mainstream rap world right now.
have you ever watched those videos which are teens reacting to whatever? And the first
I
time I
saw the one
saw,
where the kids are listening to Phil Collins in the air tonight that was kind of famous, and they heard that do 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 do
yeah,
do 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 for the first time, which to me is the most epic drum break of all time, and I love that
right.
song. So I've seen some of them, and it's fun to see kids like somewhat appreciate
It was shocking to me that
good
kids,
music.
right. It was really shocking to me that kids nowadays don't have never heard of Linkin Park, for example. I mean,
No,
you know, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, and I think in our day, it was much more difficult to distribute music.
Right.
Like you had to,
Right.
you know, like if you wanted to be a known musician, you had to sign with a label who had to have a distribution deal, and they had to be able to get your CD into stores, or nobody would ever hear your music.
Right.
So I think that we all had a wider breadth of genres and understanding of previous generations' music, just because there wasn't that much music. Your
Right.
parents listened to the CDs they had, you listened to the CDs you had, you maybe had like 50 options at any given moment in your house. Now it's endless, and you know, anybody can be a musician, distributor, you have social media, all these things. So I think that people are more insulated into the thing they love, and don't necessarily get the exposure. You wouldn't, if you're a kid who loves mumble rap, you're not going to like turn on the local rock radio station. When I was a kid growing up in a small town in Florida, we had like three radio stations.
Right.
And if a commercial was on, I'd rather listen to a song I don't like that's like old rock than listen to a commercial. So I was
Right.
exposed to all this stuff, and my parents would be listening to the 80s channel or whatever it was, you know. And I think that now you can say you're into mumble rap or some genre, and you can find thousands of songs or artists, not just
Right.
5 or 10. And so you can go down this endless rabbit hole and never listen to anything else.
Exactly. Well, Scott, I think that sums it up. Thank you very much for agreeing to this. And
Awesome.
yeah,
Thank you very much. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I look forward to doing more stuff with you guys in the future.
right. Well, have a good day.
You too.